Will you go to heaven?
Yes.
Will I go to heaven?
That's up to you.
So, Archbishop, thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure.
As you may have
Actually,
read,
it's a terrifying pleasure, but there we are.
I don't do God.
Never. I'd never heard that before.
Tell me why I should.
I'd give you about a million reasons, but I'd start by saying, don't do the theoretical stuff about whether God exists. Look at the person of Jesus Christ. That's what changed me. I didn't do God. I looked at the person of Jesus Christ. I look at the evidence for the resurrection. I look at what he said. I looked at the impact of what he did. I looked at the impact of his followers, particularly in the first 200 or 300 years. And I thought, and I couldn't get away with it. Plus, there's a certain witness of seeing people's lives, particularly in some of the poorest parts of the world. Generosity, hospitality, love.
I can be hospitable. I can be generous.
Yeah,
absolutely. I can try to strive to be a good person.
We weren't saying about whether being a Christian makes you good. You were asking me about why you should do God.
Right, so
I'd say the evidence
what does doing God mean? If I did God, what would that mean?
If you do God, it means you become, in the category we're talking about at the moment, you can do God in any kind of way, with more or less validity. I mean, you could become a Jedi for all I know. But in Christian terms, it means opening your life to the presence of Christ by his Spirit.
And why?
And there's a mystical element to that.
Right. Maybe it's the mystical element I find very difficult.
Yeah, we all do.
But what sets your God apart from all the other gods that other people believe in? Are you right and they're wrong?
What sets being a Christian apart is the reality of Jesus Christ. It's God becoming human, living a human life, being fully human and fully God, dying completely, rising from the dead, being present with us now.
And you believe that absolutely?
Yes.
That Mary existed,
yes,
and Mary was a virgin,
yes,
and Jesus was the Son of
God. Yes.
And
Are you surprised?
That you believe it?
Yeah.
I'm surprised, yeah, I am, because I can't believe it. I'm not surprised you believe it, because you're the Archbishop of Canterbury.
Yeah, quite. I mean,
I'd be very
horrified
worried if you didn't believe it.
We're not in an episode of Yes, Prime Minister.
No, we're not. No.
But
I find it very hard.
I find it very hard, quite regularly, and you'll find, if you look at the Psalms, look at Psalm 44 if you want a cross psalm.
Okay.
Where someone is really struggling to deal with God. Look at Psalm 49 where they're saying, look, God, the rich seem to do very well, and you don't seem to be doing very well by me, so why should I trust you?
Lots of people say that now.
And that is the most profound issue which anyone faces with any kind of religious faith is, where's God?
Right.
In the bad places.
My sister, by the way, who you'll be pleased to know, does do God. And she sent me a message yesterday on my birthday, and thank you for my card. She said, give him my love.
That's very nice.
Tell him I read Romans 8 this morning.
Oh,
Get him to explain what it means, because it will be the best birthday present you've ever had.
You want a sermon on Romans 8?
Well, just brief.
In 30 seconds?
Just tweet.
A tweet. Romans 8 begins with Paul coming to a conclusion after 1 to 7 that because of what Jesus did, we don't have to fear death, we don't have to fear sin. We can trust God, and in God we find complete freedom.
Right.
That's the essential part. And he goes on. Remember, he was writing in the first century. He'd had an unbelievably tough life. So this isn't someone who's sitting in an ivory tower in comfort. And the great verse, which is for me in Romans 8, is Romans 8:28, which is in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who walk according to his purposes. And
does that mean he doesn't work for those who don't?
No, it doesn't say that. That's other bits of the Bible.
Okay. So God does me, even if I don't do God?
That's very well put. That is a tweak.
But does he?
Yes, of course he does.
And how does he do me?
Because he knows you, he loves you, he wants you to know. I mean, the point about being a Christian is not a witness to a bunch of rules about things we must and mustn't do. It's a witness to the love of Jesus Christ, who reaches out and wants us to know his love and to follow him with the assurance of his love.
But how do I reconcile the fact that Salman Abedi, who's just killed all those kids in Manchester, has had his God and believed in that God as intensely as you and my sister believe in your God?
You will have met a bunch of people who believed in a bunch of bizarre things and a bunch of people who believed in a bunch of good things. You told me earlier you'd met Nelson Mandela. Like you, I'd love to have met him. Do you say that because there were people in South Africa who believed in apartheid, then therefore someone who believed in the opposite of apartheid is wrong? Because strong beliefs, you can't believe, if one person believes one thing, that means all belief is wrong. It's just nonsense.
I'm not saying that at all.
I just say Salman Abedi is wrong. He's deeply, deeply
wrong.
Right,
he's wrong.
He's wrong, and he's deeply
he's wrong,
evil.
But what about somebody? He's wrong and he's evil. But what about somebody who believes in the God that he believed in, and actually is a good person, doesn't do evil things? Why is their God different to your God?
Because they believe different things about him.
But why are they wrong and you're right?
Because as a Christian, I believe that God is revealed in Jesus Christ in human form, and that's definitive revelation. They believe something different. We'll find out after we're dead.
You believe that as well?
Yeah.
So, will you go to heaven?
Yes.
Will I go to heaven?
That's up to you.
So I won't go to heaven.
It's not about whether you're good or bad.
It's about whether I believe or not.
It's about whether, when you face God, you say, you've got to accept me because I've always done the right thing and I'm a good kind of person and I never swore and I never got cross with
none
people.
of that is true.
Exactly. Or whether you say, look, in the words of the old hymn, nothing in my hands I bring, simply to your cross I cling. In other words, you don't depend on yourself, you throw yourself on the mercy of God. The person who stands autonomously, who says, I'm okay because I'm okay, and I don't need anything else, is kidding themselves. First rule of the 12 steps, by the way, is kidding themselves. Mm-hmm. The person who, when they face God, throws themselves on the mercy of God, puts themselves in the hands of absolute love.
But if I've been born in Yemen and raised by a God-fearing Muslim family,
yeah,
and that's my life, and that's my background, and that's my culture.
You're likely to be a God-fearing Muslim.
Right, but
going back to the book of
not your God. I'm not going to be
going back to the
God.
epistle to the Romans. It's not like getting into a club where you have to fill out the forms, right? Going back to the epistle.
But so do you have to have do I have to have a kind of revelation somewhere?
There's an element of revelation in it. But
and how does it happen? How's it going to happen?
By the Holy Spirit, God warming, to use the phrase that Wesley used, warming your heart by you being willing to take the divine, what has been described as the divine by Pascal, as the divine wager on the existence of God.
Right. Do you think we're helped by? I mean, I sort of feel conflicted in that my parents certainly weren't evangelical, but we went to church every Sunday and they taught us to believe in God. I don't do
tribes.
No, I know, but I just find the kind of I have intellectual difficulty in accepting any of it, and
so do most of us.
So you still have that?
Oh, I can argue both ways if I need to, but when I come back, when I'm struggling, and there are moments when I really struggle, go back a couple of years, South Sudan, standing by the open grave, a mass grave in a place called Bor, with the bodies of the clergy at my feet to consecrate the grave before they were buried in it, with 3,000 unburied bodies in the town. Of course I ask questions. Who wouldn't? You wouldn't be human if you didn't ask questions. But I come back to the person of Jesus Christ. It is all about Jesus Christ. The moment you get away from Jesus Christ, you lose the plot in Christian terms.
So you have to believe that story.
You have to come to Christ as God. That's the deal.
Well, what about the young people and children who've lost their life in Manchester? Let's say that, so they've been taken away prematurely. What happened if they hadn't quite reached that moment? Are they going to heaven?
First of all, who goes to heaven, who goes to hell is above my pay grade, clearly. It's God's problem. Secondly, the God who gave his son to die for us on the cross is not going to reject people who turn to him at any point and look to his mercy. Someone who comes to a God of infinite love is not coming to someone who's going to go through a rule book. I mean, that's just think of yourself as a parent. You don't, when your kids come and want to talk to you, you don't say, well, have you been good enough today? Do you?
No.
You might be a bit teed off with them about something, but you welcome them, you hug them, you talk to them, you listen to them. You might say, I didn't really like that, or wasn't that really a clever thing to do? But that's because you love them, not because you've set a series of rules and they've met the standard.
Right, but Fiona and I are doing our 3 children a disservice, having, as it were, raised them as atheists. Are we doing a bad thing?
I would say you're doing something I don't think is the best way of doing it, but you would tell me I was the opposite.
No.
Bringing up our kids as children.
No, because I'm a pro-faith atheist.
You're a pro-faith atheist.
I like faith and I like people of faith, but I can't do it myself.
Well, no doubt your sister, as a Christian, prays for you and your children.
She does, and she tells me.
Well, that's great.
And is that helping me?
Yeah.
Is that part of God doing me?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Do you...
Is this going to get easier?
Well, what did you want? What's your favourite colour?
Oh, shut up. I'm not going to answer.
Do you feel part of the establishment? Do you feel you're part of the establishment?
No, I really don't, but I probably am.
I mean, this feels quite establishment.
It feels very establishment. The thing to remember, of course, Caroline and I remind each other pretty regularly that the day I retire, all this goes.
Where would he go?
I don't know. We haven't got a house.
Where's Rowan gone?
He's Master of Magdalen College.
Oh, of course he is, yeah. And do you feel at all resentful that we instinctively called him Rowan, but you seem to be Welby in headlines?
No. Rowan is wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm slightly envious, but Rowan is wonderful.
And how do you differ, do you think?
Oh, golly.
I get the feeling you enjoyed the job more than he maybe did.
Well, that may be true. You'd have to ask him. I think that probably is true.
Do you like the job?
On some days.
Do you enjoy the establishment part of it? The sort of the status, the figure, who you are?
No, I don't. No, that doesn't press my buttons. What I enjoy is the opportunity to deal with people and to deal with everyone at any kind of background and to have a real opening to talk to people.
Can I ask you a really strange question?
I'm sure.
I don't know why I thought of this, but do you lose sleep at all about thinking that you might have to preside over the Queen's funeral? Do you think
I don't lose sleep, and I do hope that I don't have to. I think...
But do you think about the enormity of that?
Yeah. Oh, who wouldn't? Of course I think about the enormity of it. But you think about, actually, if you're sensible, I mean, it's enormous because it'll be whoever does it, and God willing it'll be someone after me, it's an enormously public occasion. But I was a parish priest for 10 years. Every funeral, you think about the enormity of it. And when you go into church, or to the cram, if they haven't gone into church, or to the graveside, and you're looking at the coffin, and you're looking at the mourners, you are really conscious of the weight.
But the Queen is very, very different to all of us. And it is going to be one of the most extraordinary events of our lifetime. And if you are still here, you're going to be a very big part of that. It
will be... The Queen isn't... I really don't want to get into the details.